Hello again, it's Kayren Spain with Kayren Spain Designs. I am Kayren Spain of Kayren Spain Designs, and this is the first time I've ever decided to join you and show you a project I'm working on. I'm not done, but I've done a lot of the really tedious work. But I wanted to build this little house, and I will zero in on that when I'm editing. I've learned to do that. Okay, it's a little, I call it like a gingerbread house at Christmas time. And first of all, I had to search high and low to even come up close with the kinds of things I would need to build this little house. So I went on a hunt. First thing I wanted to find was the little trim that's going to go, well, it'll hang down like that around the eaves, and it'll go like that across the top of the roof. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I found these strips that I had to cut to perfect lengths to, I'm gonna drop them down as I show you, that I had to make the little window, the trims around the windows and the little windowsill. On the windowsill, I just turned it sideways to make it stick out like a windowsill. And so I found that, and then I wanted the sides to have the relief look to them, like I saw in the picture. It was like each little piece was separate. So I had to hunt, and I found at Hobby Lobby this balsa wood 1/2 inch square that I had to mark with a pencil every little section to cut. And I used my Dremel, which is over here. This has become my favorite new tool, but it turns. Yes, it's very powerful, and you have to be very careful with that. It would cut my finger off. It's a little power tool. It's called a Dremel. And so I got those. And then I was trying to find the little pointy things that went on the side. And the best I could do was I found in the little where you build doll houses, little pieces of fence. So I took that and I broke off the pieces of fence. They were the perfect height. I drew a little angle at the bottom, and I used my Dremel, and I finally learned if I laid it down on a flat surface and cut straight into the wood, therefore all those little cuts, then I can make my angle better. So that took trial and error. I tried just cutting it with a Dremel, but it just didn't work. I mean, trying to cut it off the edge of the table. But when I just laid it down flat and went straight down with the Dremel, it made my little cuts. That's how I did that. And so in the picture, there's a base for the little house. And I could not find the kind of trim that I needed, so I just did my own thing. And when they sent me this trim, it was covered on both sides with a piece like this that's around the edge. So I said, that might make a decent little border. So I mitered the corners on the strips, measured, and glued them together. And I thought it needs a bit of a base, that's just too thin. So I went to Hobby Lobby and actually found this little frame thing that says, "We love because he first loved us." 1 John 4:19. Okay. It's supposed to be like that. Well, I turned it upside down and I put my little base, which, by the way, I should tell this because they don't do this for everyone, but at Home Depot, I have a real good friend named Glenn. He took me over to his good friend Toby, who cuts lumber, and I took him my drawings. I knew I knew how I wanted each piece, how big. I did my little figuring out. This is gonna be like that. Actually, that's the back side. This is the front side. So it's gonna go on like that. And it's gonna fit perfectly on this base because I measured perfectly, okay? So once I finish everything on the little sidings and get it all clear coated and everything, then I'm gonna glue it together on this base. I've got to do work on the base because I haven't figured out how I'm gonna paint the base. I can't do it like the picture because I don't have trim like the picture. So I've got to do my own thing, which I think I know what I'm gonna do, which you'll get to watch. So anyway, then I needed, in the picture, it had this goldy bronze, kind of a old gold pieces coming down besides the door, besides the sides of the house. And I couldn't find any wood that was screegly like that, so I bought some braid, and this is actually the big piece. Just some leather, like you make bracelets with. And I painted it gold, and I cut it to length, and I put it all around the house where it's supposed to go. And it looks really good. And then when I get the house together, then these big pieces go on the corners of the house. These were bigger looking pieces in the picture, so I got bigger braid. And then it has to have the pretty gold legs on the little table. So I found at Hobby Lobby these pretty gold knobs that can make legs. And so I took one and I cut it with my Dremel, and I've learned I need more protection because sparks flew like crazy. I put on goggles and a piece of cloth to protect my chest, but I need to put more because sparks were flying like crazy, and I went, oh my God, I could set myself on fire here. But I cut that off, and I'm going to drill holes in the corners of this piece here, and I'm going to glue these in to be the legs. So it will look really cool, the gold legs on the bottom of the table. So there's 4 of those. So I still have a lot of work to do, but you missed me cutting, I don't know how many, couple hundred of these little squares, which I had to paint individually, had to prime, had to paint individually, and I glued them on first, primed them, and then I painted each little square. So it's been quite a little project. That's the front of the house. That's the front door. It's red, and I think it's turned out pretty cute. It's not exactly like the picture, but you can't copy the designer who did that. So I'm just doing the best I can, and I will let you guys go with me the rest of the way. So I'm going to stop the camera and get all this stuff off here so I can show you the next. I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, on the picture, it shows these little brass nail heads at each corner of the windows. I looked at every store in Gainesville, could not find a 1/4 inch little brass tack. So I went online and I finally found them at Walmart and ordered them. I have a bag of 120. I only needed 20. And so I thought, the first one I nailed in with a hammer, and it came through the back, which doesn't matter because it's all going to be glued together. You won't see the inside of the house. I painted the windows yellow to look like it's nighttime and light shining through. So that's why that's that way. But to do my little nail heads, I finally figured out, without them flying all over the place, I have my trusty thingy, and it cuts metal. So I put my little tacks, where are they? Okay, I don't know where they are. But I put the little tacks in here and cut them into this bowl so that they'll go flying all over my studio. And then I take the little nail head, which now is short enough that I can push it into this balsa wood because it's really soft wood. I can just push it in without having to nail the whole long piece in. it doesn't need that. It stays in quite well with just the little tiny bit that's left once I cut it off. So that's how I'm doing all of that. And I guess that's one reason why I didn't film this project, because it was hours and hours and days getting to this point. And when I finally get to the roof, which is hidden under everything, the roof, I'm just gonna glue it on, put all the trim around it, and then I'm going to get the snow text like I used on my little Christmas sleighs and so forth, put it all over the roof. While it's still wet, I'm gonna put in candy, because this roof is covered in candy that's in wrappers, in the cellophane wrappers. So I've got to find all the different kinds of candies to put on the roof, which I haven't done that search yet. So that's next. And then there's little Christmas trees in the windows and a wreath on the door, and I don't know how I'm gonna figure that out, but I'm gonna figure out something. So we're gonna keep going. See you in a little bit. Okay, I thought I would show you. I put my little tack in this, and I hold it on the bowl and squeeze it really hard, and it usually comes off. All right, I know it's broken. I know I cut through it, so I just bend it till that comes off of there. Now, that's off of there. And this over. And then I try to get it. I've already made a tiny little hole to get it started, but these little tacks are 1/4 inch, and to hold them and get them over the hole I want them to go in, I push them as far as I can, and then I get my hammer head and give it a little shove in, and voila, there it is. So I've got to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more times. That's what I have to do. Okay, I've started on this cobblestone thing, and if I do it and I don't like it, paint over it. It's looking really dark. I may put a glaze over it to tone it down if I don't like the way this looks, but anyhow, I'm just going to keep going. So I'm just going to keep going around the house. When the house gets up on here, it'll make more sense. And you know, stones are all different shapes according to the rock guy who cuts them and lays them. So I'm just going around with my imagination. So I will, I think I'll stop. And like I said, I knew it was going to be too dark, so I mixed some of the gray with a lot of water. I'm going over it to tone it down. It's not fatal. You can always fix it when it's acrylics. No, it doesn't make sense until the house gets on here, and then maybe it'll make a little sense. It's just a suggestion. It's just a visual suggestion of what if this house was on was landscaped with a lot of flagstone around it. I may have to go over it another time. I think I'm going to have to go over it another time, so I have to let this dry. I've been busy since I filmed last, and I made the little platform that the house is going to stand on. And I did the cobblestone or flagstone around the edge, and then the house, I just put clear gloss on here so I really shouldn't be touching it. I can grab it on the edges. Anyway, sit this down. So the little house will sit right here, right on the edge. I'm going to show you a little platform. That's still drying, so I need to not touch it. Anyway, I drilled holes in the four corners. I had to cut off the metal down to about half an inch, drilled holes, glued them in. And so I have on the platform, I did the stately stripes around the edge, and then I did gold on this little trim, and then the cobblestone on this edge. And the house is going to fit right in this 9 by 5 inch space. So I got the second coat going on the house, and when that gets dry, then I can glue the house together. Then I can glue on the roof. There's two of them. It will be like that on the house, and that scallopy trim will be up in the top of the gable all the way across. Well, then the gable's going to have this coming down either side. Once I get that on, then I'm going to have to order more of this Snow-Tex, and that's what's going to go on top of the roof, all over the whole roof, and then I'm going to press in some candy. Okay, now you can see it better maybe. Put this black cloth, and I'll turn it around and around, and now all we need is a roof. Roof. So that shows it off better. Don't know how this is going to work out, as this boat traffic is really loud, and I have been trying to figure this roof thing out. I ended up having to brace up some pieces to raise the roof up a little bit so that this little trim here would not hit my front door. I even took off the molding. I think I can put it back on now that I've got this fixed. And temporarily, I put masking tape on the bottom of the roof onto the trim so that when I get this all glued on, I'm going to put snow on here, and once I get the snow on here, I'll be able to stabilize this right here, because I can't really glue it because of the way the roof's slanted and the way the trim is. So I've just had to get really creative, and so that was my solution, was to use some masking tape, and then I'm going to glue the pieces onto the side, on either side, to fit with this, and I guess that would stabilize it. But it's going to take the snow to really hold it good. And since I have built this up here, you can see through a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint all of this black, paint the inside of the house black so that you can't see, you won't be able to see anything. And that will solve that problem. So as I've gone, I've had to figure out my little problems. I'm exhausted. It's taken me all afternoon to get this roof on and get this gingerbread trim on. I've had to order more Snow-Tex, so I can't put that on the roof until it comes. I have one container, but it's not enough, so I'm not going to start till I have enough. And I still have this part to put up here on the rooftop, but I can't put that in until I get my snow. So, laying it here, turning this around for this camera over here to look at it. And I got to put the little overhang back up because I got this out far enough that my little trim, which I will stabilize that after I get the snow. There we are. Pretty cute, I have to say. And I wish you could see it for real and feel it. Just feel how much had to go into this little project. So I'll do more when I get the snow and put the candy on. All right, we're almost done. One of the few projects that I didn't really show me doing things, but too much, too long, too involved. But I just thought you might enjoy seeing a little step by step and how it's progressed. So I think it's extremely adorable. Bye. Okay folks, we're here back again, and I got a lot done, but I'm going to show you now how I did this roof with the snow and the hand-blown candy, glass pieces of candy that were hand-blown, by the way. I found them on Etsy, I believe is where I found them. They're all these pieces of hand-blown candy that are going to go on the roof. So what I'm going to do, I think since I saw you, I painted the little snowmen down by the front door. I added a little wreath to the front door, and I put little Christmas trees at the four corners, because as hard as I searched for tiny little Christmas trees, I couldn't find any tiny enough to go in the windows on either side of the front door. They were just too big. They would almost work on the windows on the side because they're taller. But I've got some really cute wreaths ordered, so I'm going to put wreaths around these windows and just have the trees around the corners. So what I'm going to do is I have to get this roof where it's flat. And so what I do is I've got all these bowls up here to lean it against. Let's see, I put them all the way out there, and I'll lean the house. I want to lean it to where it's I have two mugs. I have to figure out these things. Two mugs to help prop it up. I want it to lean about that far, and the mugs to keep it like that. So it's flat, and then I can put the snow on there and the candy and leave it there until it dries. So now here's my Snow-Tex. This is what's going on the roof. It looks kind of like marshmallow. And I'm just gonna glop it up here and push it around. I want it to kind of hang over the eaves a little bit. I'm gonna push it up into there because I already put some up there to hold the trim, but it's gotten hard, so if I'm gonna have any, I'm gonna have to turn this a bit. I'm gonna get that where I can put candy in it. I've got to get stuff. Well, this is how it goes on. Okay, so I have just so many pieces. I have the same amount of pieces that I have over there. So I'm just going to start placing it because I really don't know how exactly it's going to want to go. It's Kayren Spain of Kayren Spain Designs. Please subscribe to my channel, like, share, make a comment. And again, it's just my name, Kayren Spain. Bye-bye. Okay, folks, that's it. And I'll come back in a few days when it's dry. I'm about done. It's gonna be awesome. It already is awesome. All right, goodbye.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Ho, ho, ho! Ho, 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 ho!